Well, thank you so much to Chairman Day for the invitation and to Sean for that very gracious introduction. I'm going to take a slightly different angle than Tony did. I'm going to talk more about how we can improve our standing with women voters, because I feel that in order to get more women candidates to run as Republicans, we have to improve our overall numbers of women voters and how we can reach out to them. This is meaningful for me because before I was doing what I'm doing now, I was the political director for the Alabama State Party in the 2000 cycle, when purely by coincidence we had an all-female state party staff. That was not planned. It just worked out that way, and I'm very proud to say that we went on to win 11 out of the 12 statewide races that year and started getting tort reform in the state of Alabama. And I know that tort reform is a very big deal to you guys, so that was quite an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. Women have been kind of the unsung heroes of the Republican Party for a long time, and what I observed in my days at the state party, whether it was the state party staff or women volunteers, were just phenomenal. I think women have played a very vital role to the growth of the party for a really long time. So for those of you who serve on the committee or you're just volunteers, thank you so much for what you do. You're really an unsung hero. And I love the fact that this panel is entitled "Women Are the Majority." So you stole my thunder a bit. And that's not an aspirational statement from the four of us. That is simply asserting a fact. In the last election, women comprised about 53% of the electorate, and that's been the case for quite some time. While I will admit Republicans do have significant challenges with women voters, a little known fact in this party is that we've actually won women before. We won them in 2010. And in fact, we did better with women in 2010 than we won the majority in Congress in 1994. So it can be done, and it's happened. So when Republicans won the majority in Congress in 2010, we won it in large part because women sent us there. I could say a lot of things about women voters, but in the short time that I have, I've chosen to focus on what's driving the women's vote, what are their needs and concerns, because I feel that the better that we can, as a party, listen and speak to their concerns, the more effective that we're going to be. As you know, that from the last election, there were three very challenging demographic groups for Republicans that determined the outcome of the election, and those were Hispanics, young voters, and women. And the Obama campaign likes to describe these three groups sort of as standalones and saying, for Hispanics, it was about immigration. For young voters, it was social issues and student loans. For women, it was about, however you interpret women's issues. But there was a common thread that tied all three of these together, and that was their overwhelming concern about the economy. And I'm going to show you guys a visual to kind of drive this home. I work with members of Congress a lot, and you have to use pictures quite a bit. And this is a visual that I brought to show you guys. This is how I represent. This is how voters look at the issue set. So you can see there are a lot of problems with this house, which is on fire. You see the windows are broken, the wiring needs to be redone, the paint's chipped, foundation's cracked. All that's really important, but there's one big problem. There's a big fire on the roof. And so in terms of how the electorate looks at the issue set, let's say the window that's broken might be health care, the wiring might be entitlement reform, the cracked foundation might be, I don't know, cap and trade. But the economy and jobs, that has not been effectively addressed. And until that is effectively addressed, everything else is secondary. And that's not to say that those other issues are not priorities, they clearly are. But right now, there is still overwhelming concern about the economy. And now that everyone's awake, women look at the economy with a real sense of urgency to a large degree, because they are the financial decision makers in the home, and they're the ones that are having to figure out how to make it all work. And as one lady in Virginia very astutely put it a few months ago, we run our own economy every day. And women can find it irritating when politicians don't take them seriously on the economy and talk to them about these critical economic issues. And I also feel that politicians just simply don't understand what it's like to live day to day in their shoes. So I want to take just a few minutes to give you just an overview of really what's going on in the day-to-day lives of average women so that we can be more effective in addressing their concerns. The first is cost of living, and I just can't say enough about what a critical problem this is in the minds of women. That includes gas prices, health insurance, food costs, mortgage, and taxes, and they are just trying to figure out how to manage all these costs. And as a result of that, these costs are sending a lot of women back into the workforce, and they're making lifestyle shifts as a result of these costs. Second thing you should be aware of is this trend of being underemployed. Some of you may have heard this. A lot of people going back to the workforce, a lot of times it's for health insurance. they can only find part-time work. They can't find anything full-time, or they're having to work outside their chosen field, and there's a lot of frustration regarding that. Thirdly is this feeling of being squeezed, caught in the middle, almost like you're being a sandwich, because you're having to manage your own life, your spouse's life, but you're having to take care of kids. You have older kids who may still be living at home and they need financial support. Also supporting the elderly parents. Maybe retirements aren't secure. They're having to cover the additional financial resources. Also this dynamic of doctors cutting back on Medicare patients, so there may be additional health support that's needed as well. So you have a lot of women who are in the process of managing not only their own lives, but managing 3 generations. So that just gives you a brief synopsis of what it's like to be an average woman in America these days. I do a lot of work with survey research and communications, and so people frequently ask me, what's our message? Is there terminology or a particular phrase that we need to be using to reach out to women? Well, with those dynamics that I just described, it's pretty simple. Women are looking for problem solvers, and they're looking for someone from either party who's got answers, who has a plan and a vision to make it better. So I think rather than focusing necessarily on messages or terminology, I think it's more important for us to figure out how we can best listen, how we can really understand their needs and concerns and address that and make our policies more relevant to women and their everyday lives. This past year saw the passing of one of the great female political leaders of our time, and that was Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. And she wrote in her general election manifesto of 1979, "For me, the heart of politics is not political theory, but it is people and how they want to live their lives." So as Republicans, I think we would be very wise to make that our approach for the upcoming elections in 2014. Clearly, there is a lot of dissatisfaction out there about the economy, with the president, and with policies that aren't working. I help run a small business, and we know all about policies that aren't working. But you know, as Republicans, we also have a responsibility to prove why we're right, why we're better at problem solving. And if you want to get a woman's attention, talk about how you're going to solve problems. Speaker Gingrich was here, as you know, yesterday, and he's made a statement that really stuck in my mind, and I think it's very applicable to what we need to do with women voters, and that is, his statement is, Walmart doesn't get ahead by attacking Sears, but by offering better value. So the question I would pose to all of you is, what's that better value that we can offer in this environment of dissatisfaction and what's not working? How can we be an alternative? How can we provide that better value? And finally, the economic outcome that women are really looking for is economic growth. This is not about handouts or freebies. It's about an economy that works and is growing, because they want to be able to take care of themselves and their families. They're not looking for handouts. They want an economy that grows so they can be better able to take care of their families. So as we're talking about that better value, it's important that we define our policies in that context of economic growth. And historically, for Republicans, we have been the party of economic growth, being beneficiaries of that Reagan economic legacy. But I will tell you there's a challenge to our party, and this is not only applicable for women, but also voters across the board. The left is trying to create a conflict here in terms of defining our policies as being austerity and not economic growth. And I see this in Europe with center-right parties, but also here, that they are trying to take that mantle of economic growth away from us and say that government spending is what's associated with economic growth and not the center-right policies. So we need to be sure that we always define our policies in that context, because we cannot allow that to happen. So I love that the theme of this conference is making it happen. So I think that's something that really resonates with women. As a party, our purpose is not simply just to win. This is not about just winning elections, which we all want to do, but it's really about proving a better way, proving that we're ready to govern, that we're an alternative, and we have policies that actually work. So I would encourage you, if we were to make that our focus for the upcoming elections, that not only should we be more effective in talking to women voters, but to building that majority coalition that we need for 2014. So thank you so much, Chairman Day.
Thank you.